Deep under the mountain, in a quiet corner most dwarves never visit, there is a small round door made of dark wood. Behind that door lives Brokk Thimblecap. He grows mushrooms for a living and has done so for almost 300 years. Every morning, Brokk wakes to the soft sound of water moving slowly through the roots in the stone walls. It is a gentle, happy sound, like someone drinking tea very quietly. That sound tells him the new mushrooms will be ready soon. He lies in his hammock a little longer, listening. The hammock is made from soft cave vines and some of his grandmother's old beard hair. She said it made the best rope. When the drinking sound stops, Brokk knows it is time to get up. The room is never fully dark. Rows of mushrooms grow along the walls and give off a soft, blue-white glow, just enough to see by. A small glass lamp hangs from the ceiling, turned down low like a nightlight. Brokk puts his feet on the cool stone floor and walks to the basket in the corner. Inside sleep his two pet salamanders, Glimmer and Ember. Their skin glows like little lanterns. "Good morning, little ones," he says in a whisper. Glimmer stretches and makes a happy chirping noise. Ember rolls over for a belly rub. Brokk gives it, because that is how every good day begins. Brokk's kitchen is small and round and always smells of bread and herbs. A tiny fire burns in the hearth. Over it hangs a copper kettle that is older than Brokk himself. He fills it with water from a stone jar, adds a pinch of dried cave mint, and sets it to warm. While the kettle heats, he cuts 2 thick slices from yesterday's loaf. The bread is dark and heavy, made from mushroom flour and a little barley he trades for once a year. He spreads soft cheese on the slices and adds a few paper-thin pieces of smoked mushroom, his own recipe. Glimmer and Ember sit on the table waiting for their share. Brokk breaks off tiny bits of cheese for them. They eat neatly, licking their little paws when they finish. The kettle starts to sing its low, friendly song. Brokk pours the hot water into a fat brown mug, lets the mint leaves float for a moment, then takes his breakfast to the rocking chair by the fire. He eats slowly, rocking, listening to the fire crackle and the salamanders purr. Outside his door, the great mountain is busy with hammers and voices, but inside it is only the soft sounds of breakfast and friendship. When the mug is empty and the plates are clean, Brokk stands up, stretches, and says the same thing he says every single morning. "Well, little ones, let's go see what grew in the night." Brokk puts on his old leather apron and a wool cap. He hangs a woven basket over one shoulder and picks up his short harvesting knife, its handle worn smooth from years of use. Glimmer and Ember climb onto his shoulders like living brooches, one on each side. Their warm glow lights the way better than any lantern. They step out the round door into the tunnel. The air is cool and smells of earth and water. Small glowing mushrooms grow along the path like streetlights for mice. The tunnel curves gently downward. After a short walk, it opens into the first growing cave. This one is full of tall, white mushrooms with caps as wide as dinner plates. Brokk calls them cloud bells, because when they are ready they look like soft clouds hanging upside down. He walks between the rows, touching each cap gently with the back of his hand. Most are still too small, but a few feel heavy and full. Those he cuts carefully at the base and lays in the basket. Glimmer and Ember hop down to help. They nose around the stems looking for tiny bugs, their favorite snack. Brokk lets them. A happy salamander is a helpful salamander. A little farther on, the tunnel widens into the largest cave Brokk looks after. This is the mooncap field. Hundreds of pale mushrooms grow here in perfect rows. Their caps shine silver in the dim light, and when the cave air moves, they give off a soft glow like moonlight on snow. Brokk stops at the entrance and just looks for a long moment. Every time he sees them, he feels the same quiet happiness in his chest. Today, many caps have opened overnight. Their gills underneath are bright silver and sparkle like frost. These are the best eating mushrooms in the whole mountain, and tonight there will be plenty for supper. He sets the basket down, kneels, and begins to harvest. The knife makes a soft snip-snip sound. Each mushroom goes into the basket with its cap facing up so the silver gills can breathe. While he works, he hums an old tune his mother taught him. It has no words, just a gentle up-and-down melody that fits the quiet cave perfectly. Glimmer and Ember chase each other between the rows, their little lights flashing on and off when they laugh. Yes, salamanders laugh. It sounds like tiny bells. By the time the basket is full, the cave feels warmer, as if the mushrooms are happy to be picked by someone who loves them. Brokk closes the cave door behind him with a soft click. The basket is heavy now, full of silver mooncaps. Glimmer and Ember ride on his shoulders are sleepy from running and chasing. He sets the basket on the wide wooden table. First, he fills a shallow stone bowl with cool water from the wall spout. Then, one by one, he lifts each mushroom, brushes off any bits of soil with a soft boar bristle brush, and dips it gently in the water. The silver gills shine even brighter when wet. Glimmer and Ember watch from the tabletop, tails curled around their feet like cats. When every mushroom is clean, Brokk spreads a clean cloth on the drying rack near the hearth. He lays the mooncaps in neat rows, gills up so the air can kiss them dry. The whole room soon smells like fresh rain and sweet earth. He gives the salamanders the last little piece of cheese as a reward. They chew happily and fall asleep right there on the cloth, tiny lights blinking slower and slower. Brokk's forge is no bigger than a bread oven, but it is his pride. The coals are always banked, never fully out. He opens the tiny door, adds 3 lumps of soft coal, and works the leather bellows 4 slow times. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The coals glow orange and cheerful. The room grows warmer at once. Today he needs to mend the handle of his favorite watering can. The wooden grip has cracked after many years. He chooses a piece of pale cave ash wood, shapes it with a small draw knife, and fits it over the metal spout. A few brass pins hold it tight. While the glue sets, he sets the copper kettle on the forge to heat water for tea. The kettle starts its friendly song again. Lunch is simple. Yesterday's bread, a little butter, thin slices of smoked mushroom, and a mug of mint tea. Brokk eats at the table, rocking slowly in his chair. When the plate is empty, he notices a folded paper someone has slipped under his door while he was in the caves. It is thick cream paper sealed with green wax. The seal is a tiny leaf. Brokk smiles. That can only be from his cousin Lotta on the middle levels. She writes once a month without fail. He breaks the seal and reads aloud so the salamanders can hear. They like stories. Dear Brokk, the children are taller again. Little Bram asks when Uncle Brokk will come up and bring the glowing mushrooms that taste like sugar. I told him maybe at midwinter. The market was busy last week. I sold all the scarves. I put aside 10 silver for you, for coal and barley. Take care of your back. Lift with your knees, not your beard. Love. Lotta Brokk folds the letter and tucks it into the pocket over his heart. He will write back tonight. After lunch, Brokk takes a smaller basket and walks to the garden cave just behind his house. This cave is warmer and has a little stream running through it. Here he grows herbs in wooden boxes, cave mint, stone thyme, and sweet moss rosemary. He also has 3 dwarf apple trees in big pots. The apples are no bigger than cherries, but they are bright red and taste like honey. He waters each box slowly, talking to the plants the whole time. Grow strong, little ones. The mooncaps will need your friends soon. A fat cave bee buzzes past his ear. Brokk holds out a finger and the bee lands, walks in a circle, then flies off again. They have been friends for years. When the watering is done, he picks a handful of mint and a sprig of thyme for supper. Back inside, Brokk chooses the 5 biggest mooncaps. He slices them thick and sets them aside. In the black iron pot, he melts a big spoon of butter until it smells nutty. Then he adds chopped cave onion and the herbs he just picked. The kitchen fills with the best smell in the world. When the onions are soft, he tips in the mushroom slices. They sizzle and shrink and turn golden at the edges. Brokk adds a pinch of salt, a spoon of honey, and a cup of dark mushroom stock he made last week. The pot goes on the hook over the small fire to bubble gently for the rest of the afternoon. Every now and then, Brokk gives it a stir and tastes. Perfect every time. With the stew looking after itself, Brokk sits in his rocking chair with a cup of weak tea. Glimmer curls in his lap. Ember lies across his feet. He opens the big book on the side table. Tales my grandfather told. The pages are soft with age. He reads slowly, half aloud, half to himself. Stories about the old days when the mountain was younger, when the great crystal trees still sang, when salamanders were as big as ponies. His voice is low and calm. The fire crackles. The stew bubbles. The whole house feels like a hug. After 3 stories, his eyes grow heavy. He lets the book rest on his chest and dozes for a little while. Just a short dwarf nap, the best kind. When Brokk wakes from his nap, the fire has settled into soft red coals, and the stew smells rich and ready. He stretches, sets the sleeping salamanders on their cushion, and picks up his lantern staff. Every evening he walks the growing caves to make sure the glow lamps are burning steady. The lamps are fat crystals filled with slow-burning fire moss. They give the mushrooms just the right light, not too bright, not too dim. He starts with the Cloud Bell Cave. All the lamps are happy and golden. He turns 2 of them down a little because those mushrooms like to sleep early. Next, the Mooncap Field. Here the lamps are pale blue tonight, the color the mushrooms love best. Brokk walks each row, tapping every crystal gently with his knuckle. A clear note means the moss inside is healthy. A dull thud means it needs fresh moss tomorrow. Everything sings clear and sweet tonight. Brokk smiles all the way back home. Back inside, the house is warm and smells like the best day ever. Brokk ladles thick stew into his favorite blue bowl. He cuts 2 more slices of bread and sets a tiny dish of butter on the table. He wakes Glimmer and Ember with a soft whistle. They scramble to their places and wait politely. Brokk tears a little bread into their dish and pours a spoon of stew on top. No salt for salamanders. They eat with happy little licks and chirps. Brokk eats slowly, blowing on each spoonful so it does not burn his tongue. The mooncaps are tender and taste of earth and starlight. The broth is rich and smooth. It is the kind of supper that makes a dwarf feel the world is exactly right. When the bowls are empty, he sits back and pats his stomach. "Good day," he says to the quiet room. "Thank you," Washing up is quick. 2 bowls, 2 spoons, 1 pot. Brokk hums while the hot water runs. Then he sits at the small writing desk, lights the little oil lamp, and takes out a sheet of his own mushroom paper. Thin, strong, and pale gray. Dear Lotta, thank you for the letter. The children can have all the sugar glow mushrooms they want at midwinter. I will bring extra. The mooncaps opened early this year. I will dry some and send them with the next trader. They make good tea when you are tired. Tell Bram I still remember when he was small enough to ride in my beard. Time runs fast. My back is fine. I lift with my knees and my beard stays out of the way. Love to everyone, Brokk. He folds the letter, seals it with plain red wax. No fancy stamp, just a thumbprint, and sets it by the door for tomorrow's postcard. There is still a little fire left, so Brokk decides to make something small and useful. He chooses a strip of soft copper and hammers it into a new hook for the kettle. Tap, tap, tap. The sound is friendly in the quiet house. When the hook is shaped and polished, he hangs the kettle on it. Perfect. Glimmer watches from the table, eyes half closed. Ember is already asleep again. Brokk banks the fire, covers the coals with ash so they will stay warm until morning, and yawns a big yawn. Brokk changes into his nightshirt, soft wool the color of storm clouds, and combs his long beard with a wooden comb. He fills the salamander's water dish and sets out 2 tiny blankets for them. They curl together like a glowing yin-yang and are asleep before he turns away. Brokk climbs into his hammock, pulls the quilt up to his chin, and rocks once, twice, 3 times. The mushrooms on the wall shelves dim their light on their own, the way good children blow out candles when they see sleepy eyes. The last thing Brokk hears is the soft drinking sound of the roots again, slower now, like a lullaby. Good night, mountain, he whispers. Good night, little ones. And the mountain whispers back, soft as breath. Good night, Brokk. The next 7 days pass in the same happy pattern. Morning. Wake, feed salamanders, breakfast, harvest whatever is ready. Midday. Water the herb boxes, mend something small, eat bread and cheese. Afternoon. Long, slow cooking, short dwarf nap, letter reading or writing. Evening. Check lamps, eat supper, tiny bit of forge work, bed. All week the water in the walls falls like soft rain. Dwarves up on the main levels call it drip season. Brokk calls it the best growing time. The mushrooms get fat and the air smells sweet. One day he picks so many mooncaps he has to use 2 baskets. He dries half on the racks and packs the other half into jars with salt and oil. Those jars will travel up the mountain and make many dwarves smile in the cold months. On the 8th morning, a fat cave bee comes buzzing into the kitchen while Brokk eats breakfast. It is the same bee that visits the apple trees, but today it brings a smaller bee on its back. The little bee is tired and dusty. One wing is torn. Brokk sets out a drop of honey on a spoon. Both bees drink. Then he carefully glues the torn wing with a dot of tree sap glue. The little bee rests on a warm cloth while the glue dries. By evening, it can fly again. The 2 bees circle Brokk's head 3 times. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and zoom away home. Brokk feels warm inside for the rest of the day. On the 10th morning after the bee visit, Brokk is brushing dried mooncaps when he hears 3 soft taps on his round door. Tap, tap, tap. Not the loud knock of a trader, not the hurried knock of someone lost, just the polite little knock of a friend. Brokk opens the door, and there stands Dory Ironbraid, his neighbor from 2 tunnels over. She is small, even for a dwarf, with silver hair in one long braid and a basket over her arm covered by a red cloth. "Morning, Brokk," she says with a shy smile. "I baked too many honey cakes. Thought you and the little glow friends might help." Brock's whole face lights up. Dory only visits when she feels like company, and that is always a good day. Come in, come in. Kettle is just thinking about singing." Dory steps inside, slips off her tiny boots and sets the basket on the table. Glimmer and Ember wake at once, smell honey, and run in happy circles. Brokk pours 2 mugs of mint tea. Dory uncovers the basket. 6 fat honey cakes sit in a neat ring, still warm, golden, and sticky on top. They each take one. The salamanders get the smallest cake broken into bits on a saucer. They eat like polite children at a party. Dory rocks in the second rocking chair. Brokk keeps it ready for her. The chairs creak together in friendly rhythm. "I heard your mooncaps opened early," she says. "They did. Want to see?" Dory nods. They finish their cakes, wipe sticky fingers on the towel, and walk together to the mooncap field. Dory carries an empty basket, just in case. When they step into the big cave, she stops and sighs the same happy sigh Brokk always sighs. "So pretty," she whispers. They harvest side by side, quiet and slow. Dory hums an old lullaby her mother used to sing. Brokk joins in on the low parts. The mushrooms seem to glow brighter while they sing. When both baskets are full, they sit on a smooth stone and rest their legs. "Stay for supper?" Brokk asks. Dory smiles. "I hoped you would ask." Back home, they wash the new mushrooms together. Dory slices. Brokk stirs the pot. They add extra butter because 2 dwarves eat more than 1. While the stew cooks, Dory takes out her knitting. A long, soft scarf the color of cave pools. Click, click, click go the needles. Brokk sharpens his little knife and oils the handles of his tools. The room is full of gentle home sounds. Glimmer and Ember play with a ball of yarn Dory gives them. They roll it, chase it, fall asleep on it. Supper is ready just as the glow lamps in the cave turn themselves to evening blue. They eat at the table, knees almost touching, bowls steaming. Dory says it is the best mushroom stew she ever tasted. Brokk says her honey cakes are the best in the mountain. Both are telling the truth. After supper, they move to the rocking chairs. Dory pours them each a tiny cup of blackberry cordial she brought in a stone bottle. Brokk tells about the little bee with the torn wing. Dory tells about her cat Puddle finding a warm spot right on top of the bread dough and leaving perfect paw prints in the loaf. They laugh, quiet laughs, so they do not wake the salamanders. The fire settles into red, sleepy coals. Dory's eyes grow heavy. Brokk fetches the spare quilt from the chest and lays it over her knees. She pulls it up to her chin and is asleep in 2 rocks of the chair. Brokk sits a little longer watching the fire and listening to Dory breathe slow and easy. He feels the house is extra warm tonight. Dory wakes before Brokk. She is already at the hearth restarting the fire and setting the kettle when he opens his eyes. "Couldn't sleep the whole night through in a chair," she says, "but I slept better than in my own bed." They eat the last 2 honey cakes for breakfast with more tea. Dory packs half the new mushrooms into her basket and leaves the red cloth for Brokk to keep. At the door, she hugs him quick and hard. Dwarf hugs are strong but short. "Come see me when your apples are red," she says. "I will," Brokk promises. She waves once from the bend in the tunnel and is gone. The house feels big and quiet again, but not lonely. It feels full of the visit, like a jar still sweet after the honey is poured. The next days are soft and golden. Brokk dries extra mushrooms and packs a small sack. He leaves it outside Dory's door with a note. For soup when the nights get longer. 2 days later, a tiny jar of blackberry jam appears outside his door. A little paper says, "For toast when you miss company." They never knock for these gifts. They just leave them like friendly mice. Glimmer and Ember learn to watch for the gifts and run to the door chirping when one a pea. One morning, Brokk wakes to perfect silence. The drinking roots in the walls have slowed to almost nothing. The air feels crisp, even deep underground. It is the first true cold snap of the year. He lights the fire a little bigger, puts on an extra wool shirt, and makes a pot of thick barley porridge with honey and dried apple bits. The salamanders stay curled under their blanket until the smell of warm breakfast brings them out. Brokk hangs an extra quilt over the door to keep the warmth in. The house feels like a snug little cave inside a cave. 3 days later, another soft knock. Dory stands at the door in her thick red cloak, cheeks pink from walking the colder tunnels. "I am having a tiny midwinter supper," she says. "Just me, my cat Puddle, and whoever wants to come. Will you and the little lights come?" Brokk has not left his quiet corner for many years, but Dory's eyes are hopeful. "I will come," he says. "I will bring mooncap pie and the sugar glow mushrooms for the children who visit you." Dory claps once, quiet and happy. Good. 1 week from tonight. The next 6 days are full of gentle work. Brokk bakes 3 mooncap pies with flaky crust and sweet onion filling. He dries sugar glow mushrooms until they shine like tiny pale candies. He polishes 2 little wooden cups he made on the forge as gifts for Dory. Every evening, he and the salamanders practice walking a little farther down the tunnel so their legs remember how to visit. On the 7th day, he wraps everything in clean cloths, puts on his best green vest, and combs his beard until it shines. Brokk locks his round door, not because anyone would take anything, but because it feels right. Glimmer and Ember ride in the big pocket inside his cloak, warm and glowing. The walk is not far, 2 tunnels over and 1 up. The air grows a little warmer as they near the middle levels where more dwarves live. Dory's door is painted soft blue. A wreath of dried cave ferns hangs on it. She opens before Brokk can knock. Puddle the cat sits on the doorstep, washing one paw, tail curled neatly. "Welcome, welcome," Dory says and hugs him again. Her house smells of pine oil and cinnamon. A tiny tree made of green crystal stands on the table, hung with threads of silver. Only 4 dwarves come. Brokk, Dory, old Master Grom from the Lamp Guild, who falls asleep after the first pie, and young Lena, who delivers letters and stays only long enough to eat 2 slices and leave with a pocket full of sugar glow mushrooms for her little brothers. They eat mooncap pie, drink warm spiced cider, and tell soft stories. Puddle sits on Brock's lap and purrs loud enough for everyone to hear. When the pies are gone, Dory brings out her honey cakes again. Glimmer and Ember chase crumbs under the table like glowing mice. No one sings loud songs. No one bangs cups. It is the quietest, coziest midwinter any of them can remember. Dory walks Brokk home because the tunnels feel nicer with 2 sets of footsteps. The great crystal lamps high above have been turned to midnight blue. Everything looks like moonlight on snow. At Brock's door, Dory gives him the spare red cloak she knitted while he was baking. Brokk gives her the 2 little wooden cups. They hug once more, longer this time. "Happy midwinter, neighbor," Dory whispers. "Happy midwinter, friend," Brokk answers. Back inside, Brokk hangs the red cloak by the door and sets the kettle on for one last cup of tea. Glimmer and Ember fall asleep the moment their heads touch the cushion, full of honey cake and happiness. Brokk sits in his rocking chair, quilt over his knees, and looks around the small round room. The fire is low and steady. The mushrooms on the walls glow soft and calm. The roots in the stone have started their slow drinking again, ready for spring far away. Everything is just as it was, only better, because it is now full of quiet visits, shared pies, and the promise of more. Brokk smiles into the warm dark. "This," he says to the sleeping house, the sleeping mountain, the sleeping little lights. "This is the quietest hold in all the world, and I am the luckiest dwarf in it." Then he rocks once, twice, 3 times, and lets the gentle dark carry him to sleep. Brokk wakes to the happiest sound in the world. 2 sets of footsteps coming down the tunnel. Tap, 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 tap. Pause. Then a smaller, lighter tap, tap, tap. He is out of his hammock and opening the round door before the knock even comes. Dory stands there with a basket on her arm and a tiny dwarf girl holding her hand. The child has Dory's silver braid and Brock's curious brown eyes. Little Mina, Dory's grandniece, come to stay for the whole spring. "Morning, neighbor," Dory says, smiling bigger than Brokk has ever seen. "We brought breakfast buns. Mina wanted to see the glowing salamanders before she eats a single bite." Mina looks up at Brokk with round eyes. "Uncle Brokk," she whispers, "do they really glow like stars?" Brokk kneels so they are the same height. "Brighter," he whispers back. Glimmer and Ember, now a bit fatter and very proud, poke their heads around his legs and shine their best morning shine. Mina gasps, delighted, and reaches out one careful finger. Ember licks it with a warm, glowing tongue. The little girl laughs the softest, happiest laugh in the mountain. Inside, the kettle is already singing. Dory sets the table while Brokk lifts Mina onto the special tall stool he built last winter and never admitted was for anyone in particular. They eat warm cinnamon buns with melted butter. Mina feeds tiny pieces to the salamanders and gets sticky fingers and a sticky smile. After breakfast, Dory washes the dishes. Brokk and Mina go to the mooncap field. She walks between the rows holding his hand, staring up at the silver caps bigger than her head. "Will you teach me to grow them?" she asks. "Every single day you are here," Brokk promises. When they come home, Dory has hung her red cloak on the second hook by the door, the hook that has been waiting a whole year. The house no longer feels big and quiet. It feels exactly the right size for 3 dwarves, 2 salamanders, 1 fat cat named Puddle who followed them home, and all the gentle days ahead. Brokk looks around at the warm fire, the glowing mushrooms, the sticky little hand in his, and the friend who now visits every morning instead of once a month. He smiles the slowest, happiest smile. The quietest hold is still quiet. Only now it is quiet together. And that, Brokk decides as he pours 4 cups of mint tea, is even better.